Hello and welcome to Firstpost Spotlight, where we bring you stories that matter to you from all across the world. From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, we shed light on issues that shape our world. I'm Alyson Grange, live from Durban, South Africa. Let's begin with the top headlines. Indian Navy's guided missile destroyer INS Surat successfully carries out precision target test amid growing tensions with Pakistan after the Pahalgam terrorist attack. Israel says it hit a command center of Hamas and Islamic Jihad groups in Gaza, as local health authorities say at least 10 killed in the latest airstrike. Tanzania bans all agricultural imports from South Africa and Malawi, escalating a standoff that began when the two southern African nations placed restrictions on Tanzanian exports. Vietnam opens trade talks with the United States as the Southeast Asian manufacturing hub races to protect itself from Donald Trump's 46% reciprocal tariffs. And South Korea says Chinese AI platform DeepSeek secretly sent user data to servers in China. Beijing denies collecting or storing data through illegal means. Hello and welcome. We begin with the latest from India. Less than 48 hours after the Pakistan-backed terrorists shot down 26 Indians in Jammu and Kashmir's Pahalgam, Prime Minister Narendra Modi vowed to hunt down the attackers. Speaking at a public meeting in the state of Bihar, Prime Minister Modi announced that India will identify, trace and punish every terrorist and their backers. Prime Minister Modi said that India's punishment in response to this attack will be significant, stringent and bigger than terrorists could ever imagine. Listen in.
Today, from the soil of Bihar,
terrorists could ever imagine. Listen in.
Today, from the soil of Bihar, I say to the whole world, India will identify, track and punish every terrorist and their backers. We will pursue them to the ends of the earth. India's spirit will never be broken by terrorism. Terrorism will not go unpunished. Every effort will be made to ensure that justice is done. The entire nation is firm in this resolve. Everyone who believes in humanity is with us. I thank the people of various countries and their leaders who have stood with us in these times.
As Prime Minister Modi vowed to break the back of the masters of terrorism in the region, the mortal remains of the victims of the Pahalgam attack began reaching their residences across India. From Arunachal Pradesh in northeastern India to Gujarat in the west, a wave of grief and anger against Pakistan-sponsored terrorism has gripped the country. In Haryana, the family members of Indian Navy Lieutenant Vinay Narwal were inconsolable. Lieutenant Narwal, who was married just on the 16th of April, was on his honeymoon in Pahalgam when he became one of the 26 victims of the terrorists in Pahalgam. In southern India's Bengaluru, the last rites of 35-year-old Bharat Bhushan were performed this morning. Bhushan was shot in the head in front of his wife and 3-year-old child. Meanwhile, in Maharashtra's Pune city, businessman Santosh Jagdale's last rites were performed by his grieving daughter, who was also at the site of the attack in Pahalgam. And just over 600 kilometers north of Pune, in Madhya Pradesh state's Indore city, Sushil Nathaniel was laid to rest. Nathaniel had gone to Pahalgam on a holiday with his wife, son and daughter, but returned in a coffin as a victim of the Pakistan-sponsored terrorism. As India mourns the loss of 26 innocent lives, Prime Minister Modi has promised justice. But the question now is, how, when, and in what exact way will that justice be delivered? And shifting focus to the war in Ukraine, United States President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky have clashed once again, this time over Crimea, annexed by Russia in 2014. President Trump has criticized Zelensky for stating that Ukraine will never recognize Russian control of the region. In a post on his social media platform Truth Social, Trump called Zelensky's position, quote-unquote, inflammatory, and claimed it made a peace agreement more difficult to reach. He further said that Crimea was lost years ago and is not even a point of discussion. Trump's remarks come after Zelensky repeated on the 22nd of April that Crimea remains Ukrainian territory and that accepting Russia's annexation would violate Ukraine's constitution. The clash comes amid what media reports suggest is a new U.S. peace proposal on the war, which has not been officially announced yet. The proposal reportedly includes the United States formally recognizing Russia's claims over Crimea. It suggests freezing territorial lines close to their current positions. The plan could also reportedly bar Ukraine from joining NATO. It would allow Russia to retain control of about 20% of Ukrainian territory. Hitting back on the fresh U.S. criticism, Zelensky posted a 2018 Crimea declaration by Trump's then Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, which said Washington rejects Russia's attempted annexation of Crimea. Meanwhile, hours after Trump and Zelensky clashed, Russian missiles struck the Ukrainian cities of Kiev and Kharkiv, leaving 9 people allegedly dead and dozens injured. Now, since taking office in January, Trump has upended U.S. policy toward the war in Ukraine, pressing Kiev to agree to a ceasefire while easing pressure on Moscow, which launched a full-scale invasion of its neighbor in 2022. On Wednesday, a meeting in London aimed at bringing about an end to Russia's war in Ukraine had been downgraded after U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said he wouldn't attend. President Trump told reporters later in the day that he thought the London talks had gone pretty well and believed that he had a deal with both Ukraine and Russia to settle the war.
I think we have a deal with Russia. We have to get a deal with Zelensky, and I hope that Zelensky, I thought it might be easier to deal with Zelensky. So far it's been harder, but that's okay. It's all right. But I think we have a deal with both.
Despite this, Ukraine's chief of staff, who attended the talks in London, said Kiev will stand firm on its core principles during negotiations, as they are the foundation of the country's sovereignty and territorial integrity. By contrast, Russia has welcomed the proposed framework. The Kremlin spokesperson, Dmitry Peskov, confirmed on Wednesday that talks with Washington were ongoing and said that Moscow appreciates the U.S. mediation efforts. Trump's envoy Steve Witkoff is expected to meet with Putin again for the 4th time on Friday. With further meetings expected in the coming days, it continues to remain unclear whether a consensus can be reached between all parties. For now, talks continue against the backdrop of the ongoing fighting on the ground. And moving on to the Philippines, where a new study has shed light on how exactly the Chinese maritime aggression is playing out in different parts of the country. The report by the University of the Philippines examines Chinese influence in the northern Cagayan and the western Palawan provinces. While Cagayan faces Taiwan across the Luzon Strait, Palawan is the westernmost province facing the West Philippine Sea and has witnessed frequent Chinese aggression in recent months. Even though both of these provinces host military sites accessible to American forces, researchers noted stark difference in how they view China. Now, Beijing's long-standing investments in Cagayan has made local leaders more open to economic partnerships with Chinese firms. While that's not the case with leaders from Palawan province. Palawan's opposition to Beijing's investments is shaped by Filipino military's direct encounters with Chinese vessels in West Philippine Sea. While Cagayan's apparent support for economic ties with Beijing is due to China's successful delivery of several Belt and Road Initiative or BRI projects in recent years. Now, the study notes that Cagayan's provincial government has benefited from Chinese investments. For instance, while Manila kept ignoring Cagayan's demand for a $62 million irrigation project, China immediately pitched in to fulfill this demand and completed the project in 2023. On the other hand, the study attributes Palawan's reservations about China due to incidents of harassment toward its fisherfolk, as well as alleged Chinese involvement in illegal mining. Researchers also found a lack of coordination between Manila and local governments for issues such as local economic projects, as well as U.S. military access to their designated sites. The expansive study suggests that Manila's foreign policy is not uniformly implemented across the country. And the deepening divide in local perceptions about China, with Cagayan seeing economic gains and Palawan facing security threats, Manila is walking a tightrope. And for our last story today, let's turn our attention to Turkey, which was struck by a 6.2 magnitude earthquake on Wednesday that left more than 150 people injured in Istanbul. In the hours following the earthquake that shook Turkey's biggest city, Istanbul remained on edge as over 180 aftershocks continued to rattle nerves of residents. The earthquake, which struck on Wednesday afternoon during a public holiday, was centered in the Sea of Marmara, which lies to the south of Istanbul city. As buildings shook, hundreds of people rushed onto the streets, where many could be seen checking their mobile phones for information or making calls to their loved ones. Traffic quickly jammed Istanbul's streets, and long queues formed at gas stations as people looked to rush outside of the city.
I bought it oil because of the earthquake, so that I could leave Istanbul if there was a more severe earthquake in the evening.
Many could be seen gathering in parks, and others sat on doorsteps or stood outside their homes in the center of Istanbul, as aftershocks continued to be felt. Some even shuttered their shops.
It started with a big shock all of a sudden, and we felt it very strongly. After that, we actually took our belongings and went straight to the street. We have been in the park for a few hours. I don't know how many hours it has been.
As night set in and temperatures dropped in the city, some could still be seen camped out in parks and open spaces, while hundreds of students went to seek shelter on the campus of Istanbul Technical University. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said that surveying efforts were underway and claimed that there was no problematic situation in the aftermath of the quake, one of the strongest to strike the city of 16 million in recent years. Now, Turkey is crossed by two major fault lines, and earthquakes are frequent. 2 years ago, Turkey suffered the deadliest and most destructive earthquake in its modern history. A 7.8 magnitude quake in February of 2023 killed more than 55,000 people and injured more than 107,000 in southern Turkey and northern Syria. Wednesday's tremor, which was also felt in Greece and Bulgarian capital of Sofia, has revived memories of the 1999 earthquake near Istanbul that left 17,000 dead. Seismologists now warn that there is a 47% chance that a quake above 7.3 magnitude could strike Istanbul in the next 30 years. As Istanbul settles into a calmer day after Wednesday's quake, the fear still lingers. Authorities continue to monitor the situation, with growing questions about the city's preparedness for what may come next. And that's all we have on the show for today. We will see you again tomorrow at the same time. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to First Post.
From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, shedding light on the world's top headlines, detailed analysis on the stories that matter the most to you. Catch it all on